Hello and welcome back once again to the Wrestling Rant. Second episode with the webcam. I've got my notes here, 2 pages worth. Let's just start with this. Raw sucked tonight. It was boring as hell. I suppose I can't really say the show sucked. It was boring, but suppose it wasn't really as bad as it has been before. So take that however you want. Show was boring as fuck though, so yeah. Anyways, let's get into the notes here. Raw, August 11th, 2014, from Portland, Oregon. And this is the SummerSlam Go Home show of Raw. We only have SmackDown left, and then we'll have the pay-per-view on Sunday. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to start with, completely unrelated, but earlier today, news came out that Robin Williams died. Very sad. Was one of my favorite actors, one of my favorite comedians. So, very sad. Rest in peace, Robin Williams. Let's get on with the show here. The show starts with a big long camera shot at the stage, covered in red and yellow colors all over the Titantron and the Minitron and all the other little pillars on the sides, as well as the stage being half filled with red and yellow presents on the stage. And of course they're all for Hogan. Of course they're actually all just props because he never opens a single one of them. Or at least not on the show. We'll get to that in a minute, don't worry. Brock's music hits. That's Brock Lesnar. His music hits, and he comes out with Paul Heyman. And he even does his little posing, bouncing back and forth thing, and the pyro goes off on the stage. And I also happen to notice as he's coming down, his shirt that he wears that normally says, what is it? Eat, sleep, conquer, repeat, I think, is what it says. It's the same shirt, but it has a piece of tape over repeat. It says, eat, sleep, conquer, John Cena. And I don't know if this was Brock's version of a joke or not, but the tape was, I think it was yellow tape with red lettering that said John Cena. So I don't know if he did that as a rib at Hogan or... Doesn't really matter. Who cares? Moving on. Those two get in the ring, and Heyman talks. He brings up pictures from the match of Lesnar and Taker at Mania. He also brings up The Rock and Hulk Hogan, who were also former victims of Brock Lesnar, if you want to call it that. And Heyman also brings up pictures from the Extreme Rules pay-per-view from 2012, which was, of course, when Brock first came back to the WWE, got beat by Cena, even though he did beat the hell out of Cena in that match. And to end the promo, Heyman raps, basically doing a knockoff of Cena's old battle rapping shit. I don't remember all the different things he said, but it was all just rhyming sort of stuff. It was great. Heyman is still a world-class promo. There's nothing else to say about that. It looks like they were about done. Heyman even drops the mic. I just dropped your mic. He drops the mic, and him and Lesnar, or no, he goes to leave, but Lesnar's like, hey, Paul, hold on a second. And Heyman's like, oh yeah, I forgot. He picks the mic back up and he's like, yeah, I almost forgot. Brock wants me to tell everybody that this is his house now. This arena, this is his house. And this ring, this is his house. You know? And all you people in the crowd, you are Brock's servants. Yeah. He says, for right now, he's going to take Lesnar off to have dinner. But when they get done, they'll be coming back to Brock's house. So, obviously, they're going to be coming back later. That's the end of the segment. Immediately, they hype up Cena's response to this. And then they have a little thing where a couple of people, I can't even remember all the different people they had do this over the course of the night. They did this 2 or 3 times. More like 3 or 4, actually. But we had a couple people wish Hogan happy birthday. And they were kind of somewhat famous people. Oh yeah, the first one, I don't remember who the first person was, but in this first segment they had Weird Al Yankovic. Anyways, moving on. And then we see Roman Reigns in the locker room backstage, and apparently he has a matchup next, a match against an opponent that the Authority is going to pick. And they cut to a commercial break. Coming back from the break, Reigns' music hits and he comes out. And he's in the ring, and Kane's music hits. And I was like, wait a minute, and then he comes out on the stage wearing a suit, and I'm like, oh, it's corporate Kane, okay. Because there was no pyro. So, yeah. So, yeah, Kane comes out in a suit, and he's got a microphone, and he talks, and he says, basically to the effect of, what was it? Oh, last week when you beat Kane, yeah, he actually referred to himself in the third person. Last week when you beat Kane, you essentially beat 2 different people. So the Authority wants to know how well you would do against 2 actual people. So yeah, this is a handicap match if you can't tell where he's going with this. And Kane continues to say, so your opponents tonight are... Ryback comes out. Ryback and Curtis, I'm not Mr. Perfect's son, Axel. He's not. He really isn't. If he is, then he must have been adopted or something. He's nothing like his father. I hate that motherfucker. Moving on. The 2 of them come out and they get in the ring. And what we get is another red herring sort of thing. The match was actually going okay, I thought. Immediately as soon as the match started, let's see, Roman was in there with Axel. Obviously, that's not going to go very well for Axel. But immediately as soon as the match started, crowd starts chanting something. I couldn't quite make it out. Apparently they were chanting Roman Reigns. I don't know, whatever. After being whipped like a redheaded stepchild, Axel backs into his corner and he tags in Ryback. And so we actually get a fair fight between the 2 big powerhouses. Roman gets Ryback in the corner and starts doing the corner 10 count punches. And let's see, yeah, Axel came over to try and distract Roman. I think Roman just kind of pimp slapped him, and Axel, being the bitch that he is, fell off the apron. But Ryback was able to counter, pick Roman up, and powerbomb him out of the corner. So, okay. Commercial break shortly after that. Coming back, apparently Ryback and Axel had been in control all throughout the break. Roman starts making his comeback. But what ends up happening is they all spill out to the outside. And I think Ryback threw Roman into the corner post once, and then Axel grabbed Roman, threw him into the same corner post again. And then Ryback and Axel together, they both grab him, and they go 1, 2, 3, and they ram him into the corner post really hard. And the referee's looking at him the whole time being like, don't you do that again, motherfuckers, don't you do it. And so they throw him in the third time, and the ref's like, call for the bell? Ryback and Axel get DQ'd for ramming Roman into the corner post 3 times. And I guess 3 times and you're out. Again, making shit up off the top of their heads. You guys really suck at this. Okay? Anyways, so Reigns wins by DQ. Whatever. Like I said, the match was okay. Wasn't anything great, but it was okay. So, yeah, but Ryback and Axel ain't done yet. They keep beating up Roman. They throw him back in the ring. They're beating him up there. Like Ryback would throw Axel into the corner to clothesline Roman in the corner. Of course, Reigns comes back. He makes his comeback. He beats the hell out of both Ryback and Axel. He knocks Ryback out of the ring. He gets Axel throated on the ropes. So he goes out of the ring, goes around, and he does the apron jump and drop kick and kicks Axel in the face. Roman gets back in the ring. He Superman punches Ryback, and then he Superman punches Axel. And then the crowd starts chanting, spear, 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 because they knew what was coming next. Yeah, Roman spears Ryback and then Axel. And I'm thinking, okay, that's great. Let's move on to the next segment. Renee Young jumps in the ring. And she's like, oh, hey, Roman, how does it feel? Like, whatever. Or she asked him about Randy, you know. So it's like a little interview segment in the ring. And Roman talks about Orton. Can't really remember what all he said, but he said, there was one line I do remember. He said, Randy Orton says that the Viper is back. Well, that's great, but what is a Viper when you knock its fangs down its throat? And he kind of paused for a second and he says, just nothing but a useless worm. And then he ends by saying, believe that, but he just said it a really weird way, and it sounded like it was more of a question than a statement. I don't know. Roman, you really got to work on your mic. So can you go talk with some of the other guys who are really good at mic? Go talk to Heyman. See if you can find Jake the Snake, maybe. You got to work on your delivery, man. Talk to Ambrose. You and him are buds, right? That guy is solid gold on the mic. Talk to him. Ask him to school you on some delivery stuff and, you know, just practice it a bit, you know? You gotta work on your delivery, man. He's really not too bad in the ring, okay? Yeah, he doesn't have a whole lot of moves yet. I'm sure he'll add some more, hopefully. It's the mic work and the charisma that he's lacking in right now. You know, but at least he still has, you know, it's better than listening to Cena, you know. Anyways. Okay, so that's the end of that segment. We move on. We cut backstage, one of the backstage areas. There's Randy Orton and Kane. And Orton starts talking, you know, he's saying, I'm going to beat Roman Reigns, whatever the hell, and or no, what I remember what he said was, last week Kane couldn't beat Roman, and in weeks before that the Authority couldn't do anything about him, and or earlier tonight, you know, the match we just saw, Ryback and Axel couldn't beat Roman, so looks like I'm going to have to do it. So at SummerSlam, I'm going to end Roman Reigns. That's what Randy says. And so Kane says, well, that's great, Randy, but the Authority wants to make sure that you're going to be good to go this Sunday at SummerSlam. Kane says, yeah, the Authority wants to make sure that you're good to go this Sunday at SummerSlam. So tonight they're giving you a match against Sheamus. So you need to go and get ready for that. Okay, great. Moving on. We get hype for Stephanie's confession. Apparently she has a confession to make to Brie. It's the face. It's coming back. Do you see this? Incoming dog shit. That's what this face means. It's like I'm giving you the Miz face. Really? 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 Yeah. This is going to be bad, folks. So brace yourselves for that. It's going to be a bit later on in the show, but Christ, when we get to it. Moving on. They also hype up a segment which is supposed to be a pre-recorded one-on-one interview with Bray Wyatt and Chris Jericho. So they got these two in the same room, and the two didn't immediately start killing each other. Yeah. Stupid. Anyways, cutting back out to the arena, Rob Van Dam's music hits. And he comes out, and then they cut to a commercial. And coming back from the commercial, we get the Raw Rewind, which is basically just another recap, which shows last week Heath Slater beating Seth Rollins because of Dean Ambrose's distractions. Gold. Yeah. And once we cut back into the arena after that's done, there's Rollins standing on the corner post finishing his entrance. So he doesn't even get a full entrance. I guess they finally realized that most people don't like his entrance music, and they're like, let's just cut that out. Okay. Moving on, we get the match. RVD and Rollins. This one turned out to be decent, again. The only notable spots, RVD had set Rollins up on the barricade for his little, he sets him up on the barricade, and then he jumps up onto the apron, and he goes Rob Van Dam like a dumbass, which is probably why Rollins counters. Spoilers, that's what happens. Rollins counters. Rob goes for his spinning leg drop thing on Rollins on the barricade. Rollins gets out of the way. And so RVD's leg slams up against the barricade real fucking hard. Shortly after that, they went to a commercial. Coming back, nothing. I'm just going to skip ahead to the finish of the match. Trying to keep the notes a little bit shorter. The finish of the match is RVD throws Rollins into the corner. And then he goes to do a monkey flip, He rolls and then he jumps up and goes to flip him. But Rollins just kind of springs him off. I don't even really see how that works much. Like if you had your arms hooked on the ropes and you just kind of, okay, fine. But he didn't. He was just like hanging on the ropes. How does that work? Kayfabe. Anyways, so yeah, Rollins blocks the monkey flip. Rob's down. Rollins hits the ropes. RVD's getting up and he's facing down, of course. He hits the ropes, he does the curb stomp, the blackout, and he pins him for the 1-2-3. So Rollins wins. Right. After the match, the camera follows Rollins out of the ring, up the ramp, onto the stage where all those presents are waiting. And there happens to be one really big one that looks just big enough to fit a person inside. It's tall, it's kind of wide, and Rollins is looking at it. He's like, hey, he like yells at it, and then he kind of jiggles it a little bit. He's like, whatever. And then he's like, He kind of walks around to the other side behind it. He's looking at it, and then he's like, I'm just, he's like, I'm just paranoid. So he starts walking away. As he's walking away, of course, bah! Ambrose explodes out of the fucking box, just whacks Ambrose and starts beating the piss out of him. Straight out of a fucking horror movie, by the way. This is hilarious. They are nailing it with Ambrose. He's like the best booked person on the fucking roster right now. And it fits his character so well to just be doing these completely off-the-wall things. So he's whacking Rollins. He throws him down the ramp. And I'm like, why'd you throw him down the ramp? Of course, Rollins is able to use that to get away. He jumps the fuck over the barricade and escapes out through the crowd. And then Ambrose goes over and grabs a microphone. He gets in the ring and he cuts a promo. I can't remember exactly what he said. I know he said that, well, he was talking, we got this lumberjack match at SummerSlam. There's no running, you can't run, you can't hide, there's no escaping. And he said, your ass is mine at SummerSlam. And he actually did say it like that. He said, your ass is mine. And then he's finished with the promo. He throws the microphone up and it comes down and whacks him in the head. So, I just thought that was funny. Anyways, we cut backstage, another one of the backstage areas. There's Stephanie. Apparently she's getting ready to come out for her confession to Brie. That's going to be next. And they cut to commercial. Coming back from the commercial, of course, Stephanie's god-awful music hits and she comes out to no reaction. Because nobody wants to see this bitch anymore. We've been seeing your ass for the better part of 10 or 15 years, hon. Since, 98, 99 she started coming out? That's about 15 years, yeah. Now, there were breaks in between, but it still doesn't make up for the fact that you're still a lousy performer, you're still lousy at cutting promos, and everybody just hates your fucking guts. Because you act all privileged, because you was born into a rich family, and you get to be treated so nice by everybody when you don't fucking deserve it. Anyways, we get another recap, this time from last week, the whole shit between Stephanie and Brie, and that was the contract signing where Triple H really showed how much of a man he was, using a large wooden table to hold back a woman who weighs not even half as much as he does. So Stephanie could pedigree Brie's sister, Nikki, only for Triple H to get slapped, and then Brie, they actually showed it, I must have missed it last week, but as Brie was trying to jump over the table to get at Stephanie, Stephanie grabbed her and smacked her head against the table, and then picked her up and gave her the pedigree too. So yeah, they recap that whole thing, like we wanted to see that shit again. Cutting back live, Stephanie starts talking about Daniel Bryan. And already I can kind of see they're not going anywhere good with this confession thing that Stephanie supposedly has. She brings up, she says, Bryan's been thrashing really hard in rehab, trying to to get better after his surgery and everything. And she says he's been spending an awful lot of time with his physical therapist, Megan Miller. And Stephanie, this girl apparently is in the crowd, this Megan Miller. Stephanie's like, oh, she's over here in the crowd. Come on over here, hon. Security, please let her in. Help her over the barricade and everything. And this girl is obviously a plant. I don't know if she's a NXT rookie or I don't know. But immediately, as soon as I saw this chick, I could just see where they were going with this. She looks almost exactly like the chick that they had play the Claire Lynch character in TNA. And that's exactly where they went with this. Not exactly, but it's way too damn close. So Stephanie brings Megan into the ring, and she asks Megan to make her confession. So it's apparently Megan's confession and not Stephanie's. After some really poor acting, like she's all sad and broken up and boo-hoo. After some, crocodile tears, which there was no tears. I'm looking at her face. Her eyes aren't even wet, and she's not even getting misty-eyed, for fuck's sake. I can act sad better than this bitch. Okay? But anyways, after some lousy acting, she finally says, "I've been having an affair with Daniel Bryan." During the rehab sessions, apparently. Bree comes out, of course. I don't think she got any music, but she just kind of ran out. And there was some bullshit. Bree goes up to Megan, and she's like, "How could you do this?" She's like, "Did Stephanie pay you to do this?" She's not on the microphone, but you can hear her saying it because she's really close to the camera guy. What ends up happening is Bree slaps Megan in the face, which she barely sold, by the way. She just kind of spun and went into the corner. And Stephanie was saying, Stephanie had said that Daniel Bryan, or I think she was kind of like dictating, like, Megan told me that Daniel Bryan said that you, Bree, were a dead fish in bed. And that's why Bryan was cheating on her, supposedly. And she was even saying that, every time Bryan and Megan were done, Megan was going, "Yes, yes." Claire Lynch, you motherfuckers. Why would you rip off one of the worst angles TNA has ever done? Seriously. So yeah, Bree slaps Megan, and Stephanie's still going, "Yes, yes, yes." And Bree jumps on her and starts beating the hell out of her. And she locks Stephanie in the yes lock, which she apparently learned from Daniel Bryan. And a couple of the agents, it was Fit Finlay and Joey Mercury, they came out and they pulled Bree off of Stephanie. And they start pulling her up the ramp to get her out of here. And as they're pulling her out, Stephanie gets back on the mic and she says, "You know what? We're not waiting until SummerSlam. We're going to finish this tonight." The face. It's again with the face. It gets worse from here, folks. I can't even believe I'm saying that. Yeah. And I also had to make a little side note. Apparently on Twitter, Christopher Daniels had a tweet. He posted a tweet saying, "Don't blame me and Frankie over this." Apparently he was watching the show. Daniels, of course, who was involved with the Claire Lynch storyline in TNA. So I just thought that was funny, so I thought I'd bring it up. Moving on, we get more hype for Cena's response to Brock Lesnar. We also get more hype for the Jericho and Bray Wyatt one-on-one. And then we get more birthday wishes for Hulk Hogan. And I think it was at this point that they had... what's his name? Larry King. Yeah. So that was him. And then I think that was Larry King, and then the other one was two of the guys from Florida Georgia Line, which is this crappy country band. I had no idea who they even were until they're like, "Oh yeah, hey, we're from Florida Country or Florida Georgia Line." I'm like, "Oh, that's who you are," because I had no idea who the hell you were, because you look like generic nobodies to me. Moving on. The birthday wishes for Hogan, and then they cut to a commercial break. Coming back from the break, we get a recap of what just happened. Why is this Stephanie and Brie Bella storyline getting more recaps than it deserves? People don't care what just happened, because nobody cares about Stephanie or Brie Bella. Anyways, after the recap, the Real Americans music hits, and out come Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter. And Cesaro is already in the ring. And we get a recap from last week of the little fight between Rusev and Jack Swagger. With Rusev whacking Swagger with the flagpole and necking him over the top rope. So anyways, we get a match between Cesaro and Swagger. And again, this match turned out to be decent. Apparently, Swagger had tape on his ribs underneath his singlet. So, I don't know what that came from. Is that from getting... Well, I guess that would be from getting poked in the ribs with Rusev's flagpole. Either way, who cares? There's a commercial break in the match, and Cesaro spends most of the match working Swagger's injured ribs, doing the abdominal stretch, and just targeting most of his offense at the ribs. Even to the point where Cesaro gets Swagger laid out on the mat, and he goes up to the second rope, and he comes off with just a big senton. And he just lands just completely, like, what is it? Like, just completely squashes him with this senton, Right. And then he even did, let's see what happened. Swagger went to hit the ropes, and Cesaro lifts him up the flapjack style, and I'm expecting him to do the European uppercut, but no. He gets him down and lands him gut first on his knee. So I'm going to call that the Swiss knee instead of the Swiss death. And then Swagger was down. He was sitting down on the mat, and he was fairly close to the ropes. Cesaro hits the ropes, comes twisting and uppercuts the fuck out of him, just knocking the shit out of Swagger during this match. And I'm like, Jesus, this guy is so damn strong, looks so damn good in that ring, and wrestles like a beast, and hits like a fucking freight train. And yet the WWE still, for whatever reason, continues to bury him. And yeah, that's spoils the finish of the match, doesn't it? We'll get to that in a minute. Let's see, after the twisting uppercut, oh yeah, Cesaro, he's got Swagger down. He goes to do the big double stomp on Swagger's guts, but he does it, and Swagger grabs his leg to go into the ankle lock, the Patriot lock. But Cesaro immediately gets to the ropes, and so they have to break it off. And then for some reason, Cesaro goes back up to the top rope, and I'm like, what are you doing going up there? Swagger gets up and he comes running. He throws Cesaro off and goes right into the ankle lock. And holds on to it for a minute. And Cesaro, of course, has to tap out. So, yeah, Swagger wins by submission. The crowd was dead because, again, they're even getting sick of Cesaro being buried. And they know that the only reason this is happening is because we gotta make Swagger look good going into his match with Rusev. Which, again, nobody really cares about. Zeb Coulter has a microphone, and he talks. And he says, "We're here in Portlandia," which got a pop, cheap pop. But this Sunday at SummerSlam, we're going to be in Los Angeles at the Staples Center. And me and Swagger have taken to calling that Deportlandia. Really bad joke. Yada, yada, yada. He goes on and on, whatever. And they do a We the People. And as they're doing it, the Rusev Russian flag explodes down from the top. And they're all like, they jump, they're like, what the fuck? And of course, Rusev's music hits. Him and Lana come out onto the stage. Crowd doesn't even react to it. And they don't even do anything about it. It's just the two of them standing on the stage like twits. And that's it. Crowd's dead. They move on. We get hype for the supposed match, which is supposed to happen later on between Brie and Stephanie, since apparently we're going to finish this tonight. We also get hype for the Orton and Sheamus match, and we also get hype for the Jericho and Bray Wyatt one-on-one interview, which is up next, and then we cut to a commercial break. Coming back from the break, we get the Slam of the Week, which is a recap from SmackDown last week, and that's... No, it was Raw last week. Bray coming out during Jericho's match with Luke Harper, and essentially costing Luke Harper the match. Bray attacks Jericho, causing the DQ, and that means that Harper is banned from ringside during the match Bray and Jericho at SummerSlam. Again, I have to keep bringing this up. Jericho already beat Bray once, after Harper and Rowan were both ejected from ringside. So what's the difference between that and having them just completely barred from ringside? And Jericho already won the match before. So what difference does it make? I understand they just want to keep the feud going, but if that was the case, they really should have had the match end differently before. Anyways, but we get that recap. And so the commentators segue, okay, we have this pre-taped interview, one-on-one, between Jericho and Bray. And so we're going to cut you over to that. And they go into it, and they're in some room, whatever the fuck. Bray and Jericho are both sitting there in chairs, they're just kind of sitting there in chairs, kind of like this, And Michael Cole was there for some reason. He doesn't stay for very long, because after he... I think he basically just introduced Bray and Jericho, and then Bray just goes, "That's enough, Michael, you can leave." So Cole leaves. And then Bray runs his mouth for about 3 minutes. He talks about Jericho's past. Apparently he knows a lot about Jericho's past. Saying that Jericho was a disappointment to his father because Jericho wasn't able to follow in his footsteps, And so the only way Jericho was able to, make it up to himself was to become a savior to the WWE Universe. This and that and this and that. And so he says, so you see, I know a lot about you, Chris, but you don't know anything about me. So let me tell you. He starts talking about this nightmare that he keeps having, a reoccurring nightmare, and how every time he tries to go to sleep, all he can see is people screaming and all this other weird shit. He's just rambling on and on like a madman. And I'm noticing throughout this whole thing, he's having a hard time making eye contact with Jericho. And Jericho is staring straight at him. He's like staring right at him, you know. And Jericho the whole time is just deadpan. He's just serious as fuck. He's got his suit on and he's super serious Jericho this time. Bray finally shuts the hell up. And Jericho starts talking. And he says, you know, there's all these different sides to Chris Jericho, so you never really know which one you're going to get. I might be happy Y2J, and I might be super serious suit face Jericho, you know. And he says, this Sunday at SummerSlam, he's going to do something that nobody else has been able to do. He's going to leave Bray Wyatt speechless. And then they did the Wyatt cutaway gag. And that was the end of that segment. Thankfully, cutting back live into the arena, AJ's music hits, and out comes her cute little ass, skipping like she always does. That's a nice offset, by the way. You go from something boring and really, really dark. Let's pep things up with cute little sweetie pie AJ. She comes out, and she gets in the ring, and she props herself up in the ropes like she usually does. And then they cut to a commercial break. And when we come back, the abomination of the Divas division, Eva Marie, is in the ring. We get a recap of SmackDown 2 weeks ago when Paige pushed AJ off the stage. So they recap that. And then we get the match of AJ and Eva Marie. And it didn't take very long for them to kneecap themselves, basically. AJ got Eva down, I think had her in a headlock, grounded headlock, and then all of a sudden Paige's music hits. And she comes out skipping down to the ring, mocking AJ. She skips all the way around the ring, and she's trying to distract AJ. And it's not really working, because AJ's still, focused on Eva Marie trying to, finish the match. Apparently, it finally got the better of AJ, as AJ took her eyes off Eva just long enough. Eva does the schoolgirl roll up, 1, 2, 3. And Eva wins. So, Eva Marie, probably the sorriest excuse for a female wrestler I think I have ever seen. Yes, she's worse than Alicia Fox. She's worse than Lacey Von Erich. The sorriest excuse for a female wrestler I've ever seen just pinned one of the most talented female wrestlers the WWE has ever seen. The Divas champion, no less. This completely green as goat shit rookie, Eva Marie, has just pinned AJ. And I know what you're going to say. Oh, AJ was distracted by Paige, and it's all just part of the storyline to work between these two of them, the feud. Horse shit. Eva Marie should never beat anybody. She's a whore. Crowd was dead when she won, by the way, because they're like, what the fuck? You seriously just had that no-talent bimbo beat AJ? They were dead. Nobody gives a fuck about Eva Marie. Stop putting her ass on Raw. I saw that she had been put in NXT over the last couple of weeks. Apparently it didn't do her any good. She still looked like shit during this match. She still barely sold anything, and that actually comes up in a minute. Let's see. After the match finished, Paige is back up on the stage with a microphone. And she talks, saying that she wrote AJ a little apology in the form of a little poem. And it goes, oh crap, I can't remember this one either. Again, it was another rhyming thing, kind of like Heyman's thing from the beginning. But she said, roses are red, wood chips are beige. Something about throwing AJ off the stage. I can't remember the rest of it, but it actually wasn't too bad. And then she basically just says, I can't wait to see you on Sunday. She ended the little poem by saying, I can't wait to see you on Sunday. I'm going to win back my Divas title. She rhymed it with something. I can't remember how, but, I thought it was good promo. Paige works fairly decently as a heel. Although I really wish she was a face here, but whatever. They're probably going to do this. The way they're going to do this is they're going to have Paige as a heel take the Divas title from AJ, who's the face. And then so Paige is going to be champion as heel. They're going to bring up somebody else from NXT, one of the big faces down there. I'm not sure who. But they're going to bring up a face from NXT and have her take the Divas title from Paige. And then Paige could turn back face and, whatever. Don't know. But anyways, after Paige's little apology poem, she fucks off. And so AJ's left standing in the ring, and I'm like, okay, well that's the end of that segment. No. Camera keeps focusing on her, and she gets that devilish grin on her face. And I love it when she makes this face, because it's sexy as fuck. The camera looks over, and there's Eva Marie on the outside over by the commentary table. And I'm like, why the hell hasn't she left yet? AJ looks over, and she sees her, and I'm like, oh, that's why. AJ jumps out of the ring. She starts beating the fuck out of Eva Marie. Beats the fuck out of her. Grabs her by the hair, picks her up off the floor, grabs her by the hair, throws her head fucking first hard into the barricade. And I mean, Eva slammed into that fucking barricade. She may end up having a concussion. I hope so, because the bitch needs to go away forever. Eva's out after this, obviously, because she just went head first into that barricade. AJ gets her Divas title belt, and all of a sudden, she's happy. She starts skipping around the ring, and she comes back by where Eva is, even kind of waves at her a little bit and keeps on going and leaves. And I'm like, that's just fucking great. I love AJ so much. I'm glad that they made her back into a face, because I really hated being supposed to boo her as a heel. So I'm glad they turned her back into a face. But, jeez. Still, having her lose to Eva. What the fuck? Seriously? You couldn't have picked anybody else who would have been more credible to pin AJ. It couldn't have been like Natalya or Nikki Bella or, you could have picked Emma. You've got Emma. Speaking of, I don't know if I've mentioned this or not. She got fired for a minute, only to be reinstated. There was stupid misunderstanding. She was going to buy a cell phone cover, and she accidentally forgot to pay for the fucking thing and walked out of the store with it. And so they tried to charge her with like robbery or larceny or some sort. I don't remember. She got fired for that. But then the WWE reinstated her. I guess, they're like, oh, it was just a misunderstanding. Okay. She hasn't really done much since, but, whatever. Where the fuck are we here? Oh, right, we're at the top. Duh. Anyways. I guess after that segment, we cut into a recap of Paul Heyman's rap from earlier. His little rapping, rhyming promo on Cena. And then they cut backstage, another one of the backstage areas. There's Cena. He's coming out. Apparently he's going to give his response next. And then they cut to a commercial. Coming back from the commercial, they announce for main event tomorrow night, the Usos are going to have an open challenge for the tag team titles. Like I care. It's not on Raw and it's not on SmackDown, so as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't fucking matter. How much you want to bet they'll retain the titles no matter who they're going against, and it won't matter. Anyways, cutting back live into the arena, Cena's crappy music hits, and he comes out to his usual mixed reaction of mostly boos and some cheers, whatever. He gets in the ring, and he has a microphone. And he starts cutting his promo. He starts off by mimicking Paul Heyman's usual bit. The really monotone, he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, my name is John Cena." Yada yada. He goes into his promo. He says he's not laying down for Brock at SummerSlam. He says he wants to be the one that beat the one that beat the Undertaker. You didn't deserve to be the one to beat the Undertaker. You don't deserve to beat the guy who beat the Undertaker either, motherfucker. He starts running through his usual shit about talking about Lesnar, saying he's a mercenary, only cares about the money, and I'm like, yeah, keep quoting me, because I've been saying all this shit for the past 3 or 4 months. He also brings up the different chants that he's gotten over the years. The Let's Go Cena, Cena sucks, and all these other chants. The booing and the cheering, and the crowd actually chants along with those, And then he says, people have been asking me, or they've been asking the question, rather, when does Cena turn? When does Cena stop being this happy-go-lucky, boring motherfucker, essentially? When does he turn serious? Essentially, is the point he's getting at. And he says that in order to beat a beast, you have to become a beast. And as much as he doesn't like it, that's what he's going to have to do at SummerSlam to beat Brock. And he starts talking, he's basically quoting Heyman. He says, "This is your house, Brock?" Well, and he starts basically calling Brock out. He says, "Well, if this is your house, there's a stranger standing in your house. And I'm begging you to come out and try and tell me to leave." So he's calling Brock out. Brock doesn't come out, of course. And Cena keeps goading him, Another part of Heyman's promo from the beginning I should bring up is when Heyman was talking about the Extreme Rules match between Brock and Cena. Heyman basically made excuses for Brock, saying that Brock was still recovering from... what was the name of the illness? Tuberculitis or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. But he was basically making excuses for Brock, saying that Brock was only at 50%. But this Sunday at SummerSlam, he's going to be at 100%. So yeah, that was then. Cena brings that up. He's saying, what, did you come down with another case of tuberculitis or whatever? Or maybe it was... I don't remember. But then he said, or maybe you've got punk bitchitis. and he said something about, you want to come down and rip me apart piece by piece. And he says, I already got too many pieces. You know, you want to rip my fingers off, maybe you should rip them all off because I'm giving you the middle one. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're just standing there, you dumb shit. If you're giving him the middle finger, you're doing this. He was not doing this. I'm doing this to you now, Cena. Fuck you. Both of them. Bland, boring, generic-ass promo like always from this boring motherfucker. And he ends by saying, okay, it looks like Brock's not coming, so this Sunday, I guess we'll have to wait until this Sunday, and the champ is here. So, whatever. Moving on. We get more hype for the Orton versus Sheamus match. Ugh. And then we get a recap of the shit between Stephanie and Brie from earlier. With Megan Miller and all that shit. And of course, that's basically just a segue. We see Brie backstage, another one of the backstage areas. She's in her ring gear, getting ready to come out for the supposed match between her and Stephanie. And that's next. And they cut to another commercial break. Coming back from the commercial break, we get more birthday wishes for Hogan. Anyways, the Bella music hits back in the arena. The Bella music hits and out comes Brie. And she gets no reaction. Because again, the crowd don't care about this feud. So, Brie's in the ring. Stephanie's music hits again. And she comes out in the same outfit she was wearing earlier. Which, it looked like really tight, like yoga pants almost. And a kind of billowy, short-sleeved shirt. It wasn't even, it looked kind of like a, I don't know. It wasn't like a dress or anything, but whatever. But she comes out in this same outfit, and even the commentators are like, she's not dressed to wrestle, what's going on here? Can you see where this is going? Stephanie talks, and she shows a recap, the same recap that we just saw a minute ago of Brie slapping Megan Miller. And she says, you really should have thought that through because Megan is pressing charges against you. And Brie's already gotten out of the ring. She started to come up the aisleway to come after Stephanie. And so up come a couple more dicks in suits. The same sort of cops or detectives or whoever that arrested Stephanie last time. And we get the same shit. They come over and they grab Brie and they put handcuffs on her and they start reading her Miranda rights. And they pull her away and they arrest her. Again, the face. I hate this show. I hate this company. I can't stand watching this crap much longer. While Brie is being taken away, Stephanie keeps running her dick licker. She's taunting Brie, yada yada. Or no, she's, as the cops are pulling her away, they're like, "Oh, Brie, are those cuffs too tight?" And she's telling the officers, "Oh, be really gentle with her. Her husband's been cheating on her and this and that." And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, bitch? Shut up! Go away! Go drink some chloroform. Shut up. You cunt. After that, Stephanie still keeps talking, much to my chagrin. She basically says, "I hope you can make bail, Brie, and if you can, I'll see ya on Sunday at SummerSlam." Crowd's dead, of course. And They cut to a commercial break. Coming back, we get another recap of what just happened. Again, as if anybody fucking cares. Nobody cares about this angle, Stephanie. Nobody cares about you. You wrote this damn storyline just to give yourself more airtime on TV and just to give yourself a big rub. Fuck off. You do not belong in this business. You suck. You're nowhere near the heel that your father was. I know you're trying. That's what you're going for, right? You're trying to be the big heel boss. I'm sorry, honey. It's not going to work for you. Vince had something going for him. He had some charisma, number one. And number two, he actually had an event happen to make him look like a real big heel. The whole thing was screwing over Brett at Survivor Series 97, I think it was. Yeah, that happened. You haven't had that happen for you, Stephanie. You haven't fucked over somebody for real. Because that was something that was completely real. They fucked over Brett for real. And everybody knew it. And that made Vince look like a complete asshole of a heel. Unless you can figure out a way, would not happen because people would see that coming. Oh, look, another screw job, like we haven't seen a million of those. I'm sorry, Stephanie. No, I'm not. But you don't belong in this business. You don't have the talent, you don't have the brain for it either. She's the head of the creative department, or she's the head writer. She sucks. Because the storylines we've been getting lately, over the last couple of years, have all been mostly garbage. I really don't know how much longer I can keep watching this shit, folks. Really don't. Anyways. After the recap of what just happened, we're looking at the commentators. And they're talking about something. It was probably plugging the network more. Some other people had plugged it during the show. I think Heyman said something about it during his little rap. Anyways. While the commentators are talking, all of a sudden the Miz's music jumps in the middle of the song. Like they did to Ziggler the other week. He's not in the ring, he's coming out to join them on commentary. And there he is in his white suit with his shades and his Intercontinental title, and he gets up and stands on the frickin' commentary table. And he stands there for the entirety of the match that we're about to get. Which is... And they also happen to mention that Heath Slater was already in the ring. Yeah, Heath Slater. And then Ziggler's music hits, and he comes out to a big pop. And I noticed that while Ziggler was coming out, he's wearing one of the Miz's shirts, the Haters Love Me shirt. He's wearing this shirt, and he comes out and he gets in the ring, and as he's done finishing answers, he takes the shirt off and he throws it at the Miz. And Miz is like, oh, he almost hit me, but not quite. You're not going to ruin the moneymaker. And I'm like... So anyways, we get the match between these two. And of course, what the fuck do you think's going to happen? Miz is on commentary, standing on the table, no less. Of course, he's just going to do nothing but try to distract Ziggler. Match was going okay, I guess. I think Ziggler was on the apron. Miz dumps his headset really quick. He jumps down off the table and he goes to attack Ziggler. Ziggler sees it coming, and he goes after Miz, chases him over. Miz tries to get out through the crowd, but Ziggler grabs him and pulls him back, and he's just kind of wailing on Miz. They go around the ring over to where the aisleway, the ramp is up there. Of course, Ziggler's out of the ring this whole time. The referee's counting. And Ziggler finally chases Miz up the ramp, and Miz is gone. And Ziggler's like, oh yeah, I'm in a match. He turns around to go down. Before he can get back in the ring, referee gets to 10, and so Ziggler's counted out. And so Heath Slater just won by countout. It was funny last week because he was beating Rollins, and he was being distracted by Ambrose. This week, crowd was dead again, by the way. Ziggler gets back in the ring. And he's kind of, he's looking at Slater, and he's just like, whatever, and okay. He goes to, Ziggler puts his hand out. He's like, you know what, no hard feelings. It was just that asshole Miz, no hard feelings. He puts his hands out, and Slater, he's like, and then he goes to kick Ziggler. Ziggler grabs his foot, spins him around, jumps up, and hits the zigzag on him. So he lays out Slater. That was funny. After that, we see split screen. We got half Randy and half Sheamus, and they're backstage coming out, getting ready to come out for their match, which is up next, and they cut to another commercial break. Coming back from the break, they announce that we're going to have another episode of Miz TV on SmackDown this Friday, and his guest will be Roman Reigns. So, I think you can tell how that's going to end. Miz is going to get run through with a spear, probably. Anyways, cutting back into the arena, Orton's music hits, and he comes out to hardly any reaction. And then Sheamus's music hits, and he comes out. And I don't think he got much of a reaction either. I'm not sure. Either way, we get a match between these two, and it turned out to be okay. There was a commercial break, and then the two of them had brawled to the outside over by the commentary table. And Randy grabs Sheamus around the back and lifts him up and drops him back first on the commentary table. So a back suplex onto the commentary table. It didn't break the table. But yeah, afterwards Randy did his pose, and getting back into the ring, I think he tried to do the rope-hung DDT, but Sheamus got out of it. He got out of it, backdropped Randy over the ropes, but Randy holds on and lands on the apron. Sheamus grabs him, turns him around, and does the clubbing thing, which Randy had already countered out of once. But either way, he does the clubbing thing. A minute later, Randy ends up hitting the hung DDT anyways. And he went to go for the RKO. But he was banging on the mat. And Sheamus rolled out of the ring onto the apron. And when Randy went to grab him, Sheamus just kind of throated him on the ropes. The kind of snake eyes thing. And then he did his slingshot shoulder block, the battering ram. He went for that. He hit that, and he knocked Randy down. And I don't remember. He maybe went for something else first. They kind of went back and forth for a minute. What ends up happening, finish the match, Sheamus goes up to the top rope. And he apparently was going for the top rope shoulder block battering ram thing. But of course he jumps off. Randy jumps off, catches him, RKO out of midair. And then Randy does his pose again, took his sweet ass time, finally covers Sheamus, 1, 2, 3. Randy wins. It was an okay match. Again, not really all that great or nothing all that special. Oh yeah, And another little thing I wanted to mention is during the match, commentators, this is fantastic form for our fantastic commentators here, folks. They're trying to analyze something that Roman said earlier about knocking the Viper's fangs down his throat. And what they were trying to say, or what one of them, I don't remember which one of them, it was probably JBL's dumbass. Where does a snake's throat end? Just bang up job on commentary, guys. Fuck you. Just fucking shut up, morons. God. Can we please? I'm begging you guys, please. Can we get rid of all three of these old, worthless motherfuckers? Get rid of them. Get some fucking new commentators already. Please. Seriously. Renee Young is supposed to be replacing JBL. Let's get somebody else to replace Cole. I don't even think you need more than two. A color commentator and a play-by-play. That's all you need. You don't really need a third guy. Renee Young would be what? She'd be the color commentator? Don't know how. The color commentator is usually supposed to be like an ex-wrestler, somebody who knows stuff. And then you have the play-by-play who's the straight man, you know. Seriously, can we get some new commentators? Moving on. They hype up Hogan's birthday party shit, and that's going to be next. And they cut to another commercial break, and this was at about 10:52. So yeah, we went into massive overrun. I think the show wound up going to 11:14, which was even longer than last week's 11:11, I think it was. Who cares? We come back from the break, and the whole roster is standing out on the stage, including Emma, which is one of the reasons why I kind of remembered her. Emma was there, Eva Marie was there, yada yada, who cares? The commentators segue into a brief little video package about the Cena and Brock Lesnar match. But apparently this was just like a hype video for something they're going to be showing on the WWE Network, supposedly immediately following Raw, which turned out to be, again, bullshit because they changed it. It was supposed to be like the prelude to the match between Cena and Lesnar. Yeah, on the network after Raw. Who cares? Moving on. Cutting back to the ring, there's Mean Gene Okerlund and Jimmy Hart. Mean Gene introduces Hulk Hogan and he comes out. And Mean Gene keeps talking. It's one hell of a birthday party, yada yada, and I want you to see this. And they play this big, long-winded video package for Hogan, spawning basically his entire career, spanning his entire career in the WWE. They didn't show anything from WCW. None of the NWO stuff. It was just WWE clips, you know. All his different alliances, showed clips of him and the Warrior, him and Randy Savage, all this other stuff. Just like everything. And it took way too fucking long. We finally come back from it, and Hogan tries to start talking, and he says, you know, I'm really speechless over this. I don't know what to say. But he says, I think I could do a little something something for everybody who's here. And he says, you know, well, let me tell you something, Mean Gene, brother. Of course he has to start it with that because he's and he brings up, okay, yeah, this is his saying, all day in the back, people were, you know, wishing me happy birthday, shaking my hand, you know, giving me presents and shit like that. Even evil Mr. McMahon, Vince, had to come up and give me an envelope. And in the envelope was a birthday card. And in the birthday card was $9.99. So Vince is apparently giving the people the money they need to subscribe to the fucking network, because they just can't even give away subscriptions to this shit. Hogan thanks all the fans and everybody, all the people up on the stage, all the superstars, the wrestlers. And he's so happy about everything, and yada yada. And then, woo! Flair's music hits, and he comes out. And then this other music starts playing, and I was like, who the hell is that? And then up on the Titantron, or no, it wasn't up on the Titantron, it was just showing, like the Titantron video, but the song was saying, like, I'm so wonderful, and I'm like, Mr. Wonderful, really? Was that his music? Probably not. But yeah, Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff, comes out, and he's got almost the same sort of robe that Flair normally wears. Flair's in a suit, by the way, but he's got almost the same sort of robe that Flair would wear. And he's got this big, ugly mustache. And I think he went and copped a feel of Eva Marie. I saw him went over and, like, kind of touch her or something, and I was like, why would you want to touch that skank? Number one, she's supposed to be getting married, at least if you believe any of the garbage on that Total Divas thing. I believe, yeah, I've watched one episode of that show, and it was the first episode, and I saw that much. Or maybe it was just clips that they've shown throughout the show over the last few months. They showed a little clip, oh, her boyfriend proposed to her, and I don't care. So yeah, Paul Orndorff comes out. He gets no reaction because nobody fucking knew who the hell he was. Because again, most of the WWE's audience these days are kids. Kids who were born maybe 10 years ago at the most. Mr. Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful, was 20, 30 years ago. Back in the 80s, folks. That's a long fucking time ago. And then Roddy Piper's music starts playing. And he comes out. And this is just a parade of old motherfuckers, I really wish they wouldn't do this so much. I know it's Hogan's birthday and these are all his friends. Yeah. Anyways, Piper comes out. And then the NWO music hits. And who else is it but Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. The two of them come out, and all the guys are in the ring there with Hogan, and Hall gets the mic and he goes, hey yo, and he starts going, he does his normal, his old NWO shtick of, Hogan looks pretty good here tonight in his red and yellow, right? Yeah, but how many of you folks here came to see Hogan in the red and yellow? He's doing his little poll thing that he used to do, if you remember that from WCW. Oh, how many people came here to see Hogan in the black and white NWO? And of course they cheer more for that. Hogan rips his red and yellow shirt, and there's an NWO shirt underneath. And then Nash gets the mic. And he says, tonight, Hulk, I get to do something I've never done before. He starts singing Happy Birthday to Hogan. And everybody else starts joining him. They're singing. And then Lesnar's music hits. And he comes out with Heyman in tow. And he makes a beeline for the ring. Like, no hopping back and forth on the stage, of course, because everybody's on the stage. You can't hit the pyro and blow them up. I was hoping he would get his other pyro at the ring, I should have mentioned this before, but the whole ring is decked out with Hogan stuff. There's red and yellow balloons hanging from all four corners. And I'm hoping, okay, when Brock jumps up on the apron, he'll get his corner pyro and it'll blow up all the balloons. That would just be hilarious. But no, it didn't happen. So anyways, Brock gets in the ring. He starts staring down all the different legends. He's getting right in their fucking faces. And he gets in Piper's face, and Piper not looking back or anything, and Brock kind of smiles and kind of shoulder bumps him. And Heyman's got a mic, and he says, "So, what you gonna do now, Hogan?" And I guess Brock got the mic, and he said, "The party's over, Grandpa." And then all of a sudden the commentator's like, "Oh, holy shit, here comes Cena," because here comes Cena, and he gets in the ring. And he's throwing his shit off, his wristbands and his shirt and his stupid fucking hat. And him and Brock are staring each other down. And Cena's like, "Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go." Brock gets out of the ring. Because Heyman's yelling at him, "No, Brock, we don't need to do this now. We got him on Sunday at SummerSlam. We don't got to do this." So Brock gets out of the ring. And Brock's music started playing, so as he left, and the commentators are like, "Get him out of here. That's despicable what he's doing, interrupting Hogan's birthday party." And I'm like, fuck off! I don't give a fuck about Hogan's birthday party. And as they're finally getting to the end of the show, commentators say, "You know what, I just got word," or it was Michael Cole, he said, "You know what, folks, I just got word that right after Raw is over here in about 5 seconds, we're going to continue Hogan's birthday celebration on the WWE Network." Do I look like I fucking care? I don't fucking care. Can Hogan please just retire and never show his face on television anywhere? Not WWE, not TNA, not any other promotion. Can he please just completely retire and go the fuck away forever? I don't ever want to see him again. I don't give a fuck about this motherfucker. Yes, he did so much to, he did so much for the business to make it mainstream. A lot of work which was undone by Vince's poor decisions. Work that had to be redone by Stone Cold Steve Austin in the fucking 90s and the early 2000s. Because it's funny how people can work so hard to put this business on the map, get it into the mainstream, get it popular, you know, so people are actually talking about it at the water cooler at work, you know. And then all of that work completely washed away and undone by somebody's stupid decisions and shitty performers like John Cena. You notice that the complete abandoning of pro wrestling happened while Cena was top guy, right? So over the last 10 years, wrestling has fallen out of the mainstream. It's because of Cena, for the most part, and a lot of the other horrible decisions in the WWE. Anyways, that's the end of the show, by the way. So yeah, if you wanted to see the rest of Hogan's birthday celebration, you needed to be on the network. For just $9.99. You can sign up to a porn site for less money than that. And you'll get better content. I'll pass on the WWE Network, thanks. I don't care about watching old shows. I don't care about watching old pay-per-views. I don't care about Legends House or any of this other original content that they have, and I don't care about seeing the stuff that happens during the commercial breaks, during Raw. I don't care about any of that shit. The only thing I would really want to see that's on the network is NXT. And I can watch that elsewhere. You can find it on Hulu. I'm not sure if you can find it on Netflix. Probably not. But I know you can find it on Hulu. And there are people who upload it to YouTube. It gets taken down shortly, but I'm sure you can probably find it on other video streaming sites. I won't name names, but, if you know about the usual suspects, you can probably find it pretty quick. This episode of Raw was boring as hell. Too many plugs for the network. Too much focus on Brie and Stephanie again, which, again, nobody cares. Where's that lighting rig? I want it to fall on the fucking ring while Brie and Stephanie are in the ring. Fuck you. Nobody cares about Stephanie or the Bellas. And by the way, that's something I wanted to bring up. Where was Nikki throughout this whole show? A lot of people are speculating, and this is probably going to be in my predictions video that I do for the pay-per-view. A lot of people have speculated that the big swerve is going to be Stephanie will somehow pay or convince Nikki Bella to turn on her sister Brie during the match at SummerSlam. And that's how Stephanie will win. They still haven't said anything about Triple H being the referee. So, that probably isn't going to happen. So it's probably just going to be this big swerve. Oh, Stephanie got Nikki to turn on her sister. Because we really want to see that. Another sibling rivalry. Especially when it's between a pair of twins who you can't tell them apart unless you look at their tits. Because Nikki's got the big fake ones, and Brie's are natural. So unless you look at their tits and go, oh, balloons, you're Nikki. Okay. Don't want to see that. Don't care to see that. Like I said, this episode of Raw was boring as fuck. We got a couple of decent matches. I'll give them that much credit at least. I doubt the matches were all that long. Again, somebody with a stopwatch who may have been timing all of these, you probably find that there was not all that much in-ring action during this episode of Raw, just like the last 2 weeks have been. As always for Raw, let's recap the matches, because to me, that's really the only thing that matters. Because I like wrestling. I don't care about divas being catty with each other. Ooh, you're cheating on... My man is cheating on me with you, and... Claire Lynch syndrome. Good Christ. Why, of all the storylines that TNA has done, did you pick that one to rip off? And I know what you're going to say. Oh, everything's been done in wrestling. Everybody rips off everybody. Did you have to rip off this one? You couldn't have done something else? You couldn't have just left well enough alone between these two? It wasn't enough that the two just hate each other. No. We have to bring in this cheating storyline, so we're trying to make Daniel Bryan look bad in the process. By the way, fuck you for that. How much you want to bet that Bryan and Brie Bella's marriage is all a work? Maybe I'm dumb here, I don't know. I just really don't see why Bryan would want to marry Brie. How much do you want to bet that this was all a work just for this stupid storyline? He marries Brie, and then Brie and Stephanie get into a fight, a feud. And Stephanie reveals that Bryan's been cheating on Brie with his personal trainer, this Megan Miller chick. And it all ends up leading to Bryan and Brie getting a divorce. This is all I can do. This is all I can do. I just want to fucking scream at the top of my lungs. You motherfuckers need to pull your heads out of your asses and come up with something better. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe Bryan really is married to Brie. Again, I don't really know what he sees in her. Because she's a hack of a wrestler. She's not that good. The Bellas are a little bit better than maybe some of the other girls, like the Funkadactyl Twits. Or the ex-Funkadactyls, since they had their explosion and fighting each other. Thank God we haven't seen either one of them much lately. The two of them need to head back to NXT for some more training. Send those two and Eva Marie, and you probably might want to send Emma back down there too. She might be a decent wrestler, but she needs to come up with a better gimmick. Because that stupid, this retarded ass hand jive shit might as well be this dumb shit here. That's what I see when I see her doing this. I see her doing this, I see she's going Duh. I don't mean to offend any people who are really retarded or anything like that, but that's what I see when I see her doing that stupid hand jiving shit. Thankfully, Santino's not around anymore to be paired up with her, because that was fucking garbage. The most awkward shit I have seen on Raw was the awkward shit between those two. Santino trying to hit on her and ask her out and all this shit, and the thing with the sock puppets. Really? Okay, let me get back to the recapping of the match, because I can see my recording thing. We're at an hour and a half here, so this is getting long. The matches. Show started off with Roman Reigns versus Ryback and Curtis Axel. Match ended in a DQ, but it was still an okay match. And then we got Seth Rollins beating Rob Van Dam in another decent match. And then we got Jack Swagger defeating Cesaro with the Patriot Lock submission. Another decent match. And then we got AJ, our Divas champion, and one of the most talented girls in the division in the WWE, losing to the completely untrained, untalented bimbo, Eva Marie. That match was shit. Did I have to say that? It was shit, yeah. Yes, forwarding the storyline between AJ and Paige. You couldn't have just had a promo between these two? Or had AJ in a match against somebody with talent? Natalya or Emma or a girl out of the crowd, for fuck's sake? Would have been... Fucking have AJ wrestle this Megan Miller. She's probably some fucking girl from NXT or something. Or maybe she's one of Adam Rose's rosebuds. Who knows? Who gives a shit? Moving on. So yeah, there was that. And then Heath Slater beats Dolph Ziggler by countout. That was a what the fuck match. And then you had Randy Orton defeating Sheamus in another okay match. And that was the last match. So yeah, I really don't think there was all that much in-ring action during this episode of Raw. Great. 3 hours. Let's just take a look really quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. 6 matches in 3 hours. So that's 2 matches an hour average. in a 3-hour show. And it actually longer than 3 hours, because like I said, it went till about 11:14. So that's 3 hours and 14 minutes. And we only get 6 matches, most of which weren't even that long. As the go-home show to their supposed biggest event of the summer, SummerSlam. You're not instilling me with a lot of confidence here, guys. And you're not instilling me with any desire to pay for your WWE network. I'm wondering how much further the fucking WWE stock is going to fall. Don't care. Anyways, that was Raw from August 11th, 2014 from Portland, Oregon. And speaking of cities, they did happen to mention at one point during the show that next week's Raw, the Raw after SummerSlam, will be in Las Vegas. So, you think they might maybe bring back, what was it, the Raw Roulette? Something they usually do when they're in Vegas? That usually kind of spices things up a little bit. Let's put goofy little stipulations on our matches. Goofy little stipulations, which they have a little wheel. Spin the wheel and it picks the stipulation. When it's rigged anyways, and it stops where they want it to. That's been the Wrestling Rant for tonight. Thank you for watching. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Join us. Don't know when it'll be. Probably Wednesday. Let's just go for Wednesday. Join me Wednesday for the SmackDown spoilers, which will be the go-home episode of SmackDown. Join us for that. And then after that, probably either Friday or Saturday, I will do my predictions for the SummerSlam pay-per-view, once we get the full card. We already know we have the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match between Cena and Brock Lesnar. We have that. We have the Stephanie and Brie match. We have Roman Reigns and Randy Orton. That one should be interesting. Rusev and Jack Swagger in a flag match. What other fucking matches are we going to have? I don't think they announced anything for the tag team titles. They said they were doing some open challenge tomorrow night for main event. We also have Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz for the Intercontinental title. That will be at the pay-per-view. How much you want to bet they'll stick that as the kickoff show? Kickoff match. What else are they going to have? I don't know. I think that might be close to the full card that they've announced so far. I can't... Oh yeah, Bray Wyatt and Chris Jericho. I almost forgot because, again, don't fucking care. Jericho's jobbing. Duh. That's the only fucking reason he came back. Because they needed somebody to put Bray Wyatt's fat, ugly ass over after Cena refused. Because Cena don't care. See what this shit is doing to me? You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Fuck you. Fuck you, WWE. You continue to shove this garbage down people's throats. If I could watch Ring of Honor, I would. I would ditch the fucking WWE like that in a fucking heartbeat, and I would watch Ring of Honor. I've heard TNA is actually not too bad lately. And I know I already mentioned this. They're in talks with Spike TV trying to renew their TV deal. I reported on that a few weeks back, saying that Spike was basically telling them to get lost. Apparently that wasn't exactly true. Spike wanted to negotiate with TNA to change the terms of their deal, because I think Spike wanted to get more money out of it, and they were even possibly interested in buying TNA. Which, that could probably be one of the best fucking things to ever happen to TNA. Get Dixie Carter the fuck out of there, and have her not have any more power. She has no clue what she's doing. So that might actually be interesting if that's what ends up happening. But yeah, so I haven't heard any other updates on that situation. As I said, though, TNA is probably better than the WWE right now. If you can watch Ring of Honor, I would highly advise that. Watch some Japanese stuff if you can. You know, other indie promotions. I heard Jeff Jarrett made a surprise appearance in New Japan Pro Wrestling, siding with AJ Styles and this heel faction that they have called the Bullet Club. Interesting. I would highly recommend just stop watching the WWE, people. Don't give them any more money. Don't give them any more TV ratings. Don't give them any pay-per-view buys. Don't subscribe to the network. It's not worth it. It's only $9.99 a month, but you have to commit to a 6-month subscription, which is horseshit. Anyways, that'll wrap it up for the Wrestling Rant this week. Or tonight. Or this week, that'll wrap it up for this episode of the Wrestling Rant for tonight. Thank you for watching. Please join us next time for the SmackDown spoilers, which will probably be Wednesday. Soon as I can get to it. Probably won't be tomorrow night because they tape tomorrow night, and it'll probably get them a full 8 hours or so for them to get the notes up, and I don't want to go through the headache of trying to find them like I did last week. So anyways, thank you for watching the Wrestling Rant. Thank you for spending some time watching me lose my fucking mind over this dog shit. Join us next time for the SmackDown spoilers, and we will see you then.